What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest names walks onto a morning show expecting easy, friendly questions and instead gets hit with hard truths he has been avoiding for years? The tension inside the studio was instant. The clash was intense, and what followed became one of the most shocking moments ever seen on morning television. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe and leave a comment telling us whose side you are on in this situation. The cameras were rolling live as Will Smith took his seat across from Michael Strahan on the Good Morning America set. The crowd was buzzing with excitement, phones already out, ready to record what they believed would be another smooth, charming interview with the actor everyone thought they knew. Will gave his familiar smile, that natural charm that had carried him through decades in the spotlight. But Strahan did not match the energy. His face was serious, focused, and there was something in his eyes that made it clear this interview was not going to follow the usual script. "Will, thanks for being here," Strahan said, his tone calm but missing the usual warmth viewers expected. "Always good to be here, man." "Good seeing you," Will replied, leaning back, relaxed on the surface. "I want to start with something people have been waiting to hear you speak about," Strahan said, going straight to the point. "Your public image has always been about positivity, inspiration, being the guy who can do no wrong. But over the last few years, we have seen cracks in that image. We have seen moments that made people question who you really are behind the smile." Will's grin faded just a little. "I mean, I'm human, Michael. I never said I was perfect." "No one expects perfect," Strahan replied, leaning forward. "But there's a difference between being imperfect and being inauthentic. And I think that's where people are struggling. The Will Smith we see in interviews, on social media, in these carefully planned appearances, sometimes feels like a role. Like we're watching a character instead of a real person." The studio fell silent. The mood shifted instantly. This was not playful back and forth. This was direct confrontation, and Will could feel it. "That's a strong accusation," Will said, his voice cooler now. "You're basically saying I'm fake." "I'm saying you built a brand around being relatable and real," Strahan answered without backing down. "But when things get hard, when real criticism comes, you hide behind that brand instead of being truly open. Your answers sound practiced. Your responses feel calculated. People notice that." Will adjusted in his seat, his jaw tightening. "So what do you want from me? You want me to break down on camera? You want some raw confession so it goes viral?" "I want honesty," Strahan said simply. "Not for me or the cameras, but for you. You talk about growth and learning all the time, but real growth starts with honesty, and I haven't seen that from you." "You don't know what I've been through," Will shot back, his voice rising. "You don't know the work I've done privately, the therapy, the reflection. Just because I don't share every painful detail doesn't mean it's fake. Then why does everything still feel designed for public approval?" Strahan pushed. "Every apology, every statement, every interview sounds like it was filtered through publicists first. Where is the Will Smith who isn't worried about protecting an image?" "My image is my livelihood," Will said sharply. "It's easy for you to ask me to risk it. You didn't spend 30 years building it. You don't have a family whose future is tied to it. You don't have a legacy on the line." "And that's exactly the issue," Strahan replied. "You're so focused on guarding the image that you've lost touch with the person behind it. And the irony is, people would respect you more if you dropped the act." Will stared at him, the tension thick between them. "You think you've got me figured out?" "I think you're afraid," Strahan said bluntly. "Afraid of being seen as flawed. Afraid of not being the hero people want. And that fear is shrinking you, not helping you grow. You don't get to analyze me on live TV," Will snapped. "You don't get to reduce my life to some simple theory." "Then give me something real," Strahan challenged. "Stop performing. Stop deflecting. Talk to me like a person, not a brand." Will went quiet. His face hardened. When he spoke again, his voice was low and controlled. "You want real? Here it is. I'm exhausted. I'm tired of people thinking they're entitled to pieces of me because I'm famous. I'm tired of every mistake being picked apart, every decision judged, every moment treated like public property. Then why stay in the spotlight? Strahan asked. If it's so draining, why not step away? Because this is who I am, Will said. This is what I do. And I'm not going to let people like you push me into hiding because you think I'm not authentic enough. No one is bullying you, Strahan said firmly. I'm asking for accountability. That's not the same thing. Accountable for what? Will demanded. I've admitted mistakes. I've apologized. What else do you want? I want to know if you truly understand what you did wrong, Strahan said, his voice cutting through the air. Or if you're just sorry about the backlash. Will's eyes flashed. Now you're crossing a line. Am I? Strahan asked calmly. Because it looks like you've avoided real accountability from the start. You speak in vague terms about learning, but you never face the core issues directly. I don't know you details about my personal journey, Will said coldly. You're right, Strahan agreed. But then don't come on shows like this pretending you're being open when it's really damage control. The audience sat in complete silence, uncomfortable yet unable to look away. This was no longer a celebrity interview. This was deeply personal. You know what your problem is, Michael? Will said tightly. You think being harsh equals being honest. You think tearing someone down is accountability. And you think charm equals depth, Strahan fired back. You believe smiling makes people forget the substance. Will stood up suddenly, hands raised. I'm done. We're live, Strahan reminded him calmly. I don't care, Will said. This is an ambush. Sit down, Will, Strahan said evenly. If you walk out now, you prove everything I've said. You show you can't face confrontation without retreating. Will stood frozen, torn between leaving and staying. The cameras captured every breath. Finally, he sat back down slowly. The charm was gone. What remained was raw tension. Fine, Will said through clenched teeth. Let's have the conversation you want. I don't want a specific conversation, Strahan replied. I want an honest one. Then ask honest questions instead of accusations, Will said. All right, Strahan said. When everything fell apart publicly, your first move wasn't to face it head on. You disappeared and released a controlled video. Why? Because I was processing, Will said. I was dealing with shame and confusion. I needed time. Or you needed time to shape the narrative, Strahan suggested. That's unfair, Will snapped. You twist everything I say. I'm asking you to consider that maybe your view of your actions isn't as clear as you think, Strahan said. From the outside, it looks like avoidance. So nothing I do will ever be enough, Will said bitterly. People like me? Strahan repeated. People who believe fame doesn't cancel accountability. People who judge without living under this level of pressure, Will argued. I've made mistakes too, Strahan replied. I own them without a PR team. It's easier when millions aren't watching your every move, Will said. Then why choose this life? Strahan asked again. You took the rewards. You can't reject the responsibility. I'm not rejecting accountability, Will said. I'm rejecting cruelty disguised as it. This isn't cruelty, Strahan said. It's criticism. And if you can't tell the difference, that's a problem. Will leaned forward, silent for a moment. Then softly, you think this is easy for me? I don't know, Strahan said. That's the issue. We never really see you. Maybe there's nothing else there, Will said quietly. Maybe what you see is all there is. I don't believe that, Strahan said. I think you're wasting your potential by playing it safe. So what do you want from me? Will asked. Stop trying to control how people see you, Strahan answered. Just be human. That's easy to say, Will replied. But necessary, Strahan said. Legacy is about more than fame. You think I've done nothing meaningful? Will asked. You've done a lot, Strahan said. But you're at a crossroads. So I have to destroy who I was? Will asked. No, Strahan said. Let go of who you pretended to be. Will rubbed his face, exhausted. This isn't what I expected today. Maybe it's what you needed, Strahan said. Or maybe you're just using me to look good, Will said. If that's what you think, you're missing the point, Strahan replied. You're wasting your potential, Strahan said. I've inspired millions, Will argued. That's surface level, Strahan said. Real impact is vulnerability. Give me an example, Will challenged. Be honest about the real cost of fame on your family, Strahan said. My family is off limits, Will said. And that's the problem, Strahan replied. You can't have it both ways. That's disgusting, Will said coldly. It's honest, Strahan replied. I want respect, Will said. I want a real conversation, Strahan answered. Will stood again, tired now. You want the truth? I don't know how to be who you're asking me to be. I've been performing so long I don't know where it ends. The studio was silent. Maybe there's nothing underneath, Will said. Maybe I've just been pretending all along. I don't believe that, Strahan said softly. But I understand why you might.